Hi. The 4th of July is an exceptionally important day. We know that that's the day of the general election. Many candidates up and down the country are standing, like myself. I'm Mohammad Hafeez. I'm standing in the Moseley and Hall Green constituency of Birmingham. It may be important that you get to know a little bit about your candidate before you decide who you're going to vote for. Right, so let me take you on my journey of life as to where I've been, why I've decided to stand, and what I'll be doing if elected as an MP. Let's go. So this is where I was born, on Dovey Road in Moseley, in the centre of our constituency. A safe road in so many different ways. No street crime, no knife crime, no drugs. A community full of affection, love and care. Born to parents who were hardworking. My father was a factory worker, subsequently then went on to claim income support. So it was always difficult for them, and I saw my father struggle in making ends meet. So when I look at the cost of living crisis now, I relay it back to my father's days, how difficult it was then at that time, working long hours, but ensuring, nevertheless, that we as the siblings and their children were in a safe environment. 2-minute walk from Dovey Road was my primary school. So understanding the importance of a good foundation also came with children being comfortable, children being in an environment that's safe for them. I know the importance of free school meals, of course having been on them myself. But the importance of those now is far more greater. With the cost of living crisis going up so much, it is so important that children who are living under the poverty line at least receive that one school meal, which the Tory party and the Labour Party both want to scrap. So I understand how important it is. I will of course be campaigning for that. The next 5 or 6 years of my life were then spent here at Moses School. My interest in politics really stemmed back here, back in the 1990s. I met members of the European Parliament here at school, developed an interest in law and politics, and yes, although it was still a struggle with limited means, I worked hard. I worked hard not only at school, not only at sixth form college here, but also I worked hard in ensuring that I had a part-time job. I worked at restaurants, I worked in retail, I worked at a petrol station late at night in order to generate that income in the evening to fund my studies and ensure that I could assist my family and not be an added burden upon my parents. I was the first member of my family to secure a place at the University of Birmingham to study law. Life is full of challenges, and here I was faced with one myself. My mother, unfortunately, fell ill. I had an important decision to make, either to continue with my educational progression or alternatively to postpone or park it in order to care for my mother. I took the latter decision. I felt that it was important to provide the care for my mother, and hopefully, if future allows, then I'll come back to my studies in due course. I had to get back into work. I had to make ends meet. I was able to secure myself a job at a young age here in my constituency at a job centre, trying to help families and trying to help my own community in finding employment, helping people who are on income support and job seekers allowance, trying to get them off benefits and assist them into employment. The job centre also gave me a real insight into social justice, into care, into communities, into families, and the importance of ensuring that people get back into work and off benefits. So the time that I spent with my community at the job centre gave me a real insight into people's struggles and a sense of purpose of going back into university, take 2 effectively, to go back in to try to complete my education. My passion to represent people led me to stand the elections at the university as a student representative for the Faculty of Law. I won the election. I became the student representative. I also, during the course of my studies, did pro bono work, free representation, effectively, for people who were not able to afford legal fees. I represented someone in the employment tribunal who had been unfairly dismissed. So this type of work was very, very important to me. One of the challenges faced by university students today was one of the challenges that I faced when I was studying. That is one of tuition fees. It wasn't to the extent that it is now. I had to fund my own education, I had to pay my own tuition fees, and that meant that I had to work in the evenings as a private hire driver in order to fund my own education. However, what we see now is students being left with an enormous amount of loan at the end of their education, with no real help of trying to secure employment for them. Following COVID, we've had online lectures going on and yet tuition fees going up. These are the sort of challenges that I can relate to, and I will hope to assist if elected. Whilst at university, I was married and we had our first son. I had that responsibility of caring for a family, also being the primary carer for my mother as well, who was still suffering from ill health. I therefore appreciated and understood the challenges of a good education, of working hard, of commitment and of effort that eventually all does pay off. I was not born with a silver spoon. I was the first in my family to then obtain an undergraduate and then a postgraduate diploma from the university here. So the next 20 odd years of my life have been spent right here on Corporation Street in Birmingham City Centre, at the Birmingham Magistrates Court, Birmingham Crown Court, Birmingham County Court. This is really where I've spent most of my professional career. I started my profession in family law. That really gave me a good foundation of understanding the effects of broken homes, broken families, whether that be on the family unit as a whole, the children that lived within the family, or society as a whole. More importantly, I also did some care work. That gave me a real insight into the issues and difficulties faced by children and the services that were available. So I progressed in my career from the County Court, Magistrates Court, to then arriving here at Birmingham Crown Court. I joined the Crown Prosecution Service. I developed my career, progressed up. I started to prosecute some of the most serious cases in the country, including murders, serious sexual offences, child crime, child exploitation, drugs, gang crime. All of these serious offences gave me an understanding not just of the criminal justice system, but also the knock-on effect that crime has upon society, upon our communities. The work with the Witness Care Department, the victim support units, domestic violence units, honour crime units, training with the police, disclosure issues, have all given me a great insight into the effects of crime on our communities, and also the effect upon individuals as a result of organised crime gangs. For example, children being trafficked for drug exploitation or sexual offences. Becoming a grade 4 prosecutor, which is the highest grade on the Crown Prosecution Service panel, meant that I worked with the police on some of the most serious offences in the country. This also gave me the opposite angle of understanding the difficulties faced by the police departments. Effectively, there are too many cuts. The government cut funds into police services that have led to a number of police stations across the country being closed down, less police officers on the street to tackle crime. These are the sort of issues that if I were elected, I would want to table, and I would want discussions on those in order to secure further funding to help the criminal justice system. I'm afraid we've all seen enough of the government's disaster of the National Health Service. Underfunding, low pay, extra work for nurses, no beds available, massively long waiting lists, ambulances parked up outside of hospitals are just an example of what we've all begun to experience firsthand every other day in this country. More needs to be done about this. We require more funding in the National Health Service. This is the cause of poor government management of public funds. There is lack of public funds, and those that are provided are not spent on the right resources. If elected, I will ensure that I take the voice of these people in these hospitals, including myself and others who've all experienced a declining level of service. We were once a country that were proud of the National Health Service, and now we're really struggling. Many of the problems that we've been speaking about today are a direct result of the failings of a Labour-led Birmingham City Council. Those councillors that sit in the council house behind me here who have failed us miserably. To lead the council into bankruptcy due to maladministration by a Labour-led council, and then to expect the constituents of Birmingham, and my constituents also of Moseley and Hall Green, to now pay to rectify their errors is simply not good enough. Increasing council tax by 20%, refuse collection going from weekly to fortnightly, closure of libraries are just some of the examples of how this local council, led by the Labour Party, wants to penalise us and squeeze a nation who is already struggling because of government's failings to now pay for their maladministration. You need people who can help you resolve those problems. I have many years of experience of going into a school, for example, as becoming a board of governors at a school that was in special measures to guide them, assist them, replace a head teacher, set up frameworks to get the school out of special measures. Equally, I've gone into a charity that was undergoing legal action with massive community-related and complex issues, to assist them come out of their legal battle and reconstruct the whole charity in providing sustainable and future services for the youth, for the elderly, for the women, for the young, for the old. If that weren't enough, I have worked very closely with the regulator of social housing to ensure that over 20,000 vulnerable people are provided with a roof over their head, because I know if those people did not have that accommodation, they'll be lining up here outside of a council that is already bankrupt. I have worked with different entities, whether that be the Charity Commission, whether that be Ofsted, whether that be the regulator of social housing, in order to help entities and organisations to come out of regulatory review, to come out of special measures, to come out of legal challenges that were faced. Birmingham needs MPs at this most crucial time who can articulate their views, the views of the constituents, raise their issues in order to take a bankrupt city council, a poorly run city council, out of special measures, out of bankruptcy, into a sustainable environment that affects and supports all of our community. I would fight for my constituents, I would fight for my own community in the Birmingham as a whole, to ensure that these cuts are not so drastic and are not affecting the core services that are required. I'm sure that anyone with a certain skill set, once they get involved in actually identifying where the maladministration is and where the money is actually being spent, there will be a lot of savings that we'll be able to make from many other areas, as opposed to making reductions on an already community that is struggling to make ends meet. My campaign, my life, where I've been, and this is who I am. This is where we're heading. We have a leader who has stood on principle, left the Labour Party, and I'm no different. I've left the Labour Party, all standing behind this man here. This is who we are. This is who we stand for. And hopefully, if elected, we hope that a leader like Jeremy Corbyn, we can support him in Parliament. There's a number of independents from across the country, and we hope that we get lots of them elected, all with the same cause, the ones which stand firmly with Jeremy Corbyn. Not any other independent, not any other person who might split the vote. The mission here is to beat the Labour Party and stand with this man. Stand with a man who left the Labour Party leadership, who was potentially the future Prime Minister, gave that up on principles, to stand up for our rights, for our future, for economy, for a greener environment, for international human rights. We have done exactly that. We're standing with this man, campaigning with him, and we're in it together. That's who we are.
We're fighting for the same thing. For justice, for peace, for equality, and above all for hope for young people. Young people growing up in debt, insecurity, expensive housing. We can change all that, and it requires our voices.
And an inspirational leader like yourself, Jeremy, is what's allowed me to put my profession to one side, come out into the streets, stand with you, and we can do this together. You stand for the same sort of things that most of Britain does, and we need to get our voice heard. You're our leader, we support you, and we're in this together, Jeremy.
What you need is young people like me.
between us, we'll share it. Now that you know who I am, and you know of the journey that I've been on during the course of the past 25, 30 years, if not longer, not just on my professional career, but also the work that I've done within the community. Let me now tell you a little bit about what I want to achieve if I become your next MP for this constituency of Hall Green and Moseley. One of the most important things that I want to be able to achieve is community cohesion. We have people from many different backgrounds, different faiths, different races. I want to bring everyone together. I want us all to unite on a common platform that deals with issues that matter to all of us, united, whether that be free school meals, whether that be fighting for more public funds for youth services here within our community, whether that means more cleaner and safer streets for us, more funds to ensure that our libraries remain protected. We ensure and continue to raise a voice and ensure that we protect the green belts so that they are not used for commercial purposes, to ensure that those that are less financially fortunate are not penalised by taking in their cars into the city centre, by providing a subsidy either for them to use public transport or to have further schemes to encourage them in purchasing cars which are compliant. I equally want to ensure that our youth, our next generation, have those opportunities that I had, that made me go through the educational system, the professional system, and where I've been able to assist my community, I want to be able to build a better community. I hope that you will lend me your vote. I hope that you will believe and see that I am someone who can represent your views. I am someone who was formerly a member of the Labour Party. I am someone like many others who feel that the Labour Party has gone too much towards the right. We see no difference between the Tory Party and the Labour Party. We have seen what has happened to Jeremy Corbyn. We have seen what has happened to every other member of Parliament who speaks against the core values of the Labour Party, which are not the values that you, I and many others stood for. I have, of course, in this constituency, the support of the former regional director of the Labour Party, the support of the chairperson of the Labour Party. We all feel disgruntled. We all feel considerably let down by the Keir Starmer-led Labour Party. This is not the Labour Party that you, I and many others were members of. This is our opportunity to make real change, our opportunity to come together as a community, to vote for someone who represents your views, who understands your views, who has spent the last 30 years working both professionally and within the community, and who has a real understanding of core issues. Here, I can tell you, this country is now in a problem. Birmingham City Council is in a problem. They need people like myself who are professional and who have the relevant skill set to come in and make real change.